My name is Andy Brown. I'm the program leader for computer science and IT, and I'm also the lead teacher on computing, for the computing A-level. So I'm going to take you through a little bit about what the course entails, what we can offer as a college, what the entry requirements are, and a general just overview of everything we've got, because we've got some really cool, impressive hardware that I'd like to think people are really interested in using and having a go at playing around with and being able to just have a practice with and have a look at. And yeah, it's exciting. So computer science primarily focuses generally on just a bit of problem solving, logical thinking, getting you thinking a certain way, thinking in algorithms and set lines. So you're always looking for the next step of what's going on. So it's not like short-term thinking where we look at the small picture and what happens next. All the programs are built up massively across an entire couple of weeks, really. So we make little programs that then build up into one great big program. If at any time anything I say doesn't make sense or you have any queries or anything, by all means just put a question in the chat, and then I've left a bit of time at the end for you to go through all those questions and answer any questions you guys may have. I've also got a list of questions that I often get asked, which I'll go through, and hopefully then you get a good feel for everything that our course offers. So we look at how data is passed around a lot of things. We look at how different algorithms work that, so different searches, how you can make that the most effective way of doing something. Is that program the best way to do that? Is there a better way? And actually that's what industry are always doing. The majority of companies are always looking to rewrite their systems to do something better. So we will teach all our students how that process happens and how you can go about doing that in yourself. The content of the course itself is there's a huge focus on learning to program and be a programmer. So you have 3 lessons a week, of which 2 of them are practical programming lessons and 1's a theory lesson. So the focus is really making sure that people get plenty of time to program, plenty of time to look at what they make, how they build it, how they code it, how they do a variety of different things. We make a lot of programs. It's written in a really clever way where you'll make 5 or 6 small programs and combine them all together then into one massive one that could be used by something in industry. So if you imagine something like Amazon, it's like a shopping website, we would build a login script. So we'd show you how to build a tiny little login program. We'd build a database that shows you how to load the pictures of the different items onto the website. We'd build the website interface itself to show you how the website interface looks. And then we'd build a little program that links all 3 together and passes data through the 3. We'd then put all 4 programs together in a couple of weeks after, and you've got one massive program. It's a really good way to learn programming because long term, you might want to specialize in a certain area of programming. And if you've really enjoyed doing one little aspect of it, we can easily show you how you can specialize in that. We have a look around actual computers and the internal chips, and I'm sure some students at school might have had a chance to look at a computer or look at the components that are inside it. We actually go one step further and we look at how those little chips on the program pass data around them. So what are those chips, what do they do, and how does data pass through them? So we'll look at all the little grooves on the motherboard and what they all mean and how data moves and how you click on the mouse, how the computer interprets that and where that click actually goes at a really basic level inside the machine. We'll then have a look at how data passes around the internet, because I'm sure we've all used the internet. You click on a web page and it just loads. That's how we see the internet. So we'll look at how that happens, and it's a fascinating delve into the world of different services, server providers, and we'll have a real detailed look at it. And again, it's the hundreds of jobs involved in that tiny sector alone. And then the thing that a lot of our students absolutely adore doing is you get to pick your own coursework. So there's a piece of coursework with 20% of your grade, and you get to pick the topic it's on. We help you make it a coursework project where you can build anything you want. If you want to build a database system, a shop system, a game, a network, whatever you want to do, we can work around that with you. So we will work with you individually as a student to build a piece of coursework you want. And it's really important because it forms a big chunk of your grade. So the assessments for the entire course are, there are 2 exams and 1 piece of coursework. The first exam is one of the most fun exams that any student will ever do. It's a practical programming exam. It's worth 40% of the grade, and you get given the program that it's on in September. So we spend an entire year looking at the program, making it better, fixing bugs in it, fixing flaws in it, We just work on that program relentlessly. And then you sit in the exam, you're on a computer, and the questions are things like, this doesn't work, the menu doesn't work, can you fix the menu? Or it'll be, this program will be far, far better if it had the ability to have a help screen. So then your question is to go build a help screen for it. It's incredibly different to the majority of GCSE exams that students are used to. And our students really, really enjoy it. It says a lot to me that it's a 3-hour exam and they all come out of it and were like, I don't know how my time went. It flew by. And I never thought I'd say an exam was enjoyable, but they really do seem to enjoy the programming exam. The second exam is more your traditional theory-based exam. So if any of the students have studied it at college or at school, currently, then they'll have done something similar to this. It's worth 40% of the grade, and it looks at things like converting numbers into binary so the computer understands it, the ethical uses of computer science, and it's just a very traditional theory-based paper. So we do 1 lesson a week on theory and 2 lessons a week on the programming. And the reason for that is because the practical exam, although it's only worth 40% as such, the coursework's also worth 20%. And the coursework is, the majority of the coursework is the program you build. It's not writing about the program you build. You get assessed for a huge chunk of your work on the actual program you've made. So the coursework's worth 20% of final grade. As I said earlier, you get to decide what it is as a student. You come to me and say, I'd really like to build this, I'd really like to do this, and I'll sit down with you and work out how we can make that a program. So one guy this year said to me, I want to make chess online, a version of chess online. So I sat there with him and I made it the actual computing project with him. So we looked at how we could connect it over a network so 2 different computers in the room can connect together and play like a LAN party chess game. So he's now going away and building that game that will run across 2 different machines and people play against each other. And that's because that was his area of interest. We had one guy last year who loved facial recognition software. So we bought him a Raspberry Pi, we bought a Pi camera, and it takes a picture of you and stores that as your name. And then the next time you look at the camera, it takes a picture of you and it logs you in based on your face. And it says welcome and the name based on what the data it's already got stored in the program. And we went as far as, because we were having a bit of fun with it, it recognised famous celebrities from newspaper articles. So we were storing people like Donald Trump, Boris Johnson, and those kind of people. So it would actually look at a newspaper article picture of them and log them into the system because that's what we started to do. So really, really impressive program, really, really clever thing, and has a real world application. You can take that to university or to a job interview and say, look what I can do. I've built this on my own. I've made this program. So it's good to start building yourself a portfolio of stuff to help you get a job further down the line. So a little bit about us as a college. We do have an excellent pass rate. I've been teaching this at Selby for 5 years and in my teaching career for 10 years now, and I've never had anyone fail computer science. No one's ever failed the course and got a U, which is phenomenal because there's very few courses that say they can do that, which there's a lot of reasons why, I think, but we'll go on to that in a bit. We've had students go on to various different universities, Durham, Hull, Sheffield, Leeds, Newcastle, Northumbria. Durham's obviously quite prestigious, Redbrick University, and we had a girl go there this year. That was a real privilege for us and an honour for us that someone had got into such a high university. And fingers crossed, one of our students applied to Cambridge this year. So if we get him through that, that'd be amazing for him to do computer science at Cambridge. What we do tend to find is we have groups of about between 8 and 12, depending on how many people apply. And maybe at the start of the year, 4 people want to do computer science at university. But by the end of the year, when it's time to apply for university, nearly every single one of our students does computer science at uni. This year, we have 9 students in the second year, and only 2 of them wanted to do it at uni originally. All 9 of them have applied to do it at university in the end, which is amazing. I think it's fantastic to see that all these people developed their skills over 2 years and then gone on to want to develop it further, which is amazing. It's an amazing experience. A lot of students who've done computer science at GCSE or have done some form of IT will have a programming language called Python. It was like a really big programming language that was brought in a couple of years ago. It started its meteoric rise. It was doing really, really well. It was really easy to pass an exam with, but in all honesty, it doesn't have a lot of practical use in industry. So we've switched to teaching C# this year because it's just more effective. And it means that there's very few jobs for a student going into industry with Python experience. They'd have to teach themselves another programming language. So we've made that change, and it may be slightly hard to pass the exam, but it's worth it long term, 100% worth it long term, because you look at any programming job anywhere in the industry, and at some point they'll want you to know C#. So possibly a difficult decision to make, but it's definitely worthwhile for our students. It means they've got much better experiences. I put a couple of pictures of our department on there because the whole point of these open events is for you to come and see our amazing facilities. And they truly are outstanding, our facilities. The one on the left is our hardware lab. You can probably see all the computers underneath. There's over 200 computers in there, and they're literally just there for students to take apart, put back together, build a network from, and it takes it off our network. So a lot of schools will have filters and things like that on the network, so that students can't go onto a lot of the sites they need to go onto. We've built our own internal network so they can do the admin things that we want them to be able to do, so they learn that. Because yeah, it's great to have these filters on to stop people going on sites they shouldn't, but at the same time it means they can't do admin things, like they can't enhance the way Windows works. They can't change the fundamental basics of Windows. So without the ability to do that, they're not learning everything they need to learn. So we've set up our own private room that allows them to do that. It keeps them off the sites they shouldn't be going on, but it also gives them more access and rights to the actual machines themselves. And there's many a lesson where we just do little challenges like, right, this stack of PCs are broken. Here's a pile of components. Can you fix the PCs? It's a really good skill to have. The picture on the right is our server cabinet, which is the student server cabinet, which runs that room. So again, we spend ages teaching the students how to wire up a server and how to do various different things like that, which is really interesting for them and a really good skill for students to have. Before I show some questions, I brought this home with me as well, because this was our new toy that we have just arrived today, which we have lots of VR kits, but the newest one is a wireless VR headset with built-in headphones, so you don't have to have separate ones. These are really expensive, but amazing fun. So what I tend to do with my budget every year is spend it on stuff the students are going to enjoy. There's no help them, or so we buy a load of resources to help them with their exams, and then we buy some stuff they can have fun with in lunchtime and stuff. So we tend to have a couple of lunchtimes outside of COVID, obviously, that they can go away and use the VR room and just have a chance to play on the VR, have a chance to use all our kit, which I personally like to think that they should find really exciting. From that, I'll just have a quick look at the chat and see if anyone's bobbed any questions in that I can answer. No, so what I'll do is I'll go through some of the standard questions we get every single year that people tend to ask about the course. And by all means, if you do have a question, bob it in the chat and I will go through and answer it as best I can. So the kind of things that we normally get asked are, can I do computer science if I haven't done it at GCSE? And the answer is yes, you can. You don't have to have computer science. We tend to like people to have done maths to a high level because that gives you that logical brain process. Danny asked, what kind of career can I go on to? It's a huge world with computer science. You can do anything from networking and working as a network technician in school to setting up networks for Asda or major companies like that. You can be a programmer and building programs for any company. You can be a games designer if games design is a thing you want to do. You can be a teacher. You know, I'm a programmer. I worked in the industry for a while, and I originally was going to be a programmer for a long time, then changed my mind and became a teacher. You can do anything really, honestly. Leon asks, at GCSE, are there any limitations on the coursework on time? No, we just need it in before the exam board deadline, which is March, just before Easter usually, the week before Easter. So we start in September and you've got 6 months to make it. We give you deadlines throughout the year where you should be at to help you along. So we might say that by this time you should have a working database, by this time you should have a login system working. But apart from that, there is no limitations on how long you can do it. And you do have to write a report. There is a short report to write with it, but if we put it into perspective, it's out of 70 marks. The code is 45, the report is 25. So it's about 66% of it's the code and 33% of it's the report itself. So it's important that we get the code right. The code's the one that's more important to get right than the report. I'm aware that I used to teach GCSE computer science when I worked in the school. So a lot of that was like 10% would be the program and all your marks are for writing about the program. It's really not like that at the A-level one. It really focuses on you guys becoming good programmers and being top-notch ability to think logically and write this piece of code that will do amazing things. As I said earlier, if someone's applied to Cambridge this year, so every university is open, you know, you don't have to do computer science at university, just my experience is a lot of people end up wanting to. Things we get asked, how much homework will you get? I tend to set a short piece of homework every week. It's not a long one. It's maybe about 15 minutes, half an hour, and it enhances the theory. Because I want to do programming with you more in lesson, I tend to set your homework based on the theory and then give you some tutorials to do for programming if you want to. Now, you don't have to do the programming tutorials, but we tend to find that people we get doing our course love programming. So they end up going away and doing lots of programming at home. They may not love it when they start, but by the end of it, they really, really do. We expect 95% attendance. So, you know, your attendance has to be high. You are an adult. We will chase you up if you're not coming, but likewise, at the end of the day, if you choose not to come to college, that is your choice. But we will chase you up if you're not attending, it's affecting your grade. Standard college day, that's often the question we get. I'm sorry if I'm going over stuff Phil's done this morning, but normally I'd be stood there face to face and you could ask me a load of questions and I'd go through a load of different things. But normally people say to me, what's a standard college day? How do lessons look? Well, our lessons are an hour and a half long each. You get 4 lessons in a day, and over the week you'll have 3 computing lessons. So you'll have 3 days where you have a lesson. What I tend to do for my students as well is I book them a classroom they can go into and do some programming in one of their frees. So there's always 1 or 2 study periods that students get that line up together. And this year I've put 2 on the timetable where I've given them a classroom they can go and do their work. And at first, when I started doing this 2 years ago, I thought, they're not going to go to study period, they won't turn up. But everyone bar the odd one student comes to those lessons just because they enjoy doing it. They enjoy the programming, they enjoy making better programs and trying to show me up by making programs better than I can. So other things we get is like, what support might you get if you're really struggling? So the kind of support that we offer is that if you're really struggling, it comes down to you struggling because of a learning difficulty. There's a wide variety of support, such as extra time in exams, one-to-one tuition from an independent tutor at our college. If you're just generally struggling with time management, we have what's called a GST, which is a guidance support tutor who will sit you down and teach you how to manage your time. And it might be as simple as they just sit you down and go, right, they're your study periods. Why don't you write on your timetable to do 1 lesson in each subject? Or it might be they sit you down and go, right, on a Monday night, you should do computing homework. On a Tuesday night, you should do maths homework. On a Wednesday night, you should do this homework. So there is loads of support there if you're struggling. The most important thing to do at any point, any A level, and that's not just with us, this is, if you could choose to go elsewhere, the most important thing you can do is talk to people. If you are struggling, come and talk to us and we can help. That's what we're here for. The only prerequisite for this course, really, is that you have 5 GCSEs, 5 or above, and ideally a good maths GCSE grade. But if you come in and start telling me all about programming and how you've done practice programming over the summer, you've made some amazing programs, I will consider you without the good maths grade. Because at the end of the day, the maths only helps you think logically. It's just a piece of paper that says, he's done well in maths or she's done well in maths, they can think logically. If you come into the interview or enrollment day and prove to me you can think logically, that's good enough for me. I'm happy with that. But you will be interviewed on a case-by-case basis if you don't have the prerequisite grades for that course. Or I will talk to you about that. I'm just looking down my other questions. Things like extracurricular. The extracurricular is a really interesting one because normally we've got loads of things going on, but unfortunately due to the coronavirus, it's a lot less. But I'll tell you what we've done in the past because I'm hoping this virus won't last 2 years. And if it doesn't in the second year, I'll put these trips back in. So we've gone to EGX Games Convention. We had a whole day there at the Games Convention, and it's not just a games convention. It's fun to play new releases that aren't getting released and things like that. But there are a lot of universities there talking about what jobs programmers can have. There's a lot of independent programmers there who have made indie games who will stand and talk to you about how they went down that route, how they got there, how you could then follow in their footsteps. And I find that a lot of my students spend the morning, oh, wow, the new Call of Duty's here and it's not out yet and I can go play it. And then I spend the afternoon going around talking to these indie game developers and being like, oh, that's really interesting. I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know I could get a job that way. So that was a really good fun one. I took them to Insomnia as well. That's another gaming convention which has the same idea. You know, there's a lot of businesses and a lot of companies there that will talk about how you can get into the industry, how you get into the programming industry in general, how you can go about doing that. I am looking at doing an overnight trip to one of these as well. So we'd be there for a couple of days because they have some really good talks on the night, which are about how major companies went from starting in their bedroom to earning multi-millions of pounds. And I think that would be interesting for students to hear and learn that, it's doable. We can do that. That's the way you can go around doing it. But again, unfortunately, all those trips are coronavirus, dependent on coronavirus. If we get a vaccine and they all start reopening up, or if the virus disappears and everything, then we'd definitely put those trips back on. But as it stands, we can't at the moment. But it's 3 years away by the time you guys will have finished your course with us. There's a high chance that we should be able to put some good trips on for you. If you don't want to go to university, it's another good question. If I don't want to go to university, I want to get a job after A-levels. How does this help me with that? Well, as I say, your coursework in that case is the best thing for you, because you have got a program then that you can take to industry and show them how good you are. You can take the program you've made for your coursework, go to a company and go, I've built this. I could build something similar for you. And then loads of people are impressed. The majority of people go to interviews and they just talk to people. If you take the work you've done with a memory pen and show them what you've built for us, they know instantly how good a coder you will be then. And it gives you a step up on loads of other people. Because the amount of people go to programming jobs and don't have any evidence, they don't have any programs they've built, they just literally sit there and go, yeah, I'm a really good programmer. And then you try and investigate into why they think they're a good programmer and they don't have any evidence. If you go, I'm a really good programmer, by the way, here's my coursework that I made, and they look at it and go, oh wow, that is amazing. 2 years ago, we had a student, there's a company called GCHQ, they do a coding challenge every year, and it's nationwide. And they're basically trying to find the best coders to work for the Ministry of Defence. And what they do is, if you get through the steps of it, you get through the programming steps, it's about 30 steps, and you finish them all, they invite you down to the head office for a 3 or 5 day programming camp. And one of our students got all the way there, and he came fourth in the country in it. And now he went away to university to do programming, and they're constantly contacting him saying, do you want a job? Do you want a job? You're a really good coder, you're a really good programmer. So, we have loads of really good success stories from our students. And every year we just want to build up a bigger bank of students who are really, really good programmers, because it's the future. Everything now is smart tech, mobile phones, everything like that. So the more programming we can get people doing, the better it is for their career. They can earn loads of money. They can be happy in their job because it's good fun. So yeah, that's where we're hoping to go in the future. That's about everything really for me. Does anyone else have any questions or any thoughts or things? I will say this as well, we've got some really, really cool rooms as well, some really good rooms. Every year we do out a room, so we put the latest gaming machines in the room, so they run all your stuff at super, super speed. And last year, because we had a little bit of budget left over, we put dual monitors in a room. So we've got the top gaming machine with an i7 processor in, it's got a 2060 graphics card, things like that. We've got a room with Ryzen processors in, and they've got double monitors as well. So you actually have on a stand 2 monitors. You've got one with your code on, one with your tutorials on my PowerPoint that you can work through and things like that. And that I would have loved you all to see that, because it's an amazing room. It's huge and it looks really, really good. It's really impressive. It's also got a 62-inch flat screen TV in there that's touchscreen. So that's all set up for us to use in lessons and stuff. It's not just like a normal board where you touch it once. It's got a 10-point touchscreen, so you can do multiple things. It's really, really cool. As you can see, I really, really like my tech, so hopefully you guys will as well if you come and join us for viewing. So yeah, any questions, any concerns, worries, anything I haven't answered that you have a burning question to? There is another one of these sessions on Monday, so if you do think about anything over the weekend and you're like, oh, I really wish I'd asked that, just by all means come in the chat, bob in, ask the question, and I'll be here again to answer it. There's some more events as well in February, March and June, things like that. So even if in a couple of weeks' time you go, I wish I'd asked that question, by all means, you're more than welcome to bob in. Hopefully, we might be able to bring people on site then. I don't know, we'll see. If we can bring people on site, we can have a face-to-face chat and we can meet in person properly. But yeah, that's it. That's me done, and I don't really have anything else to say now. So thanks very much for your time, and I hope you enjoy the event, and I hope to see you at Selby College soon.